Hello and welcome to another edition of the Stew with JT Brew on the Dynasty Pros Football Channel. I'm your host, Justin Taylor. Today, we're going to discuss everything about the big game, the Super Bowl, our favorite bets, the point spread, player props, some interesting bets we kind of found searching around. We're going to have fun on this one. We're giving you a couple days before the big game to get it going. Stick with us. You're in the stew. It starts now.
You up on trades and why you move, you ain't designed to lose. Find you jumping over seemingly nothing, racking up points, makes the game a little more fun to watch. Can drop release, we started with the mock draft and now we making a mockery of the leaderboard. Quite obviously not a scrub, so start an institute, make evaluations like a commissioner do. It's to the point your wife make you watch in a different room, update your roster and pick and choose when you get some news. Not much that we enjoy more than sipping brew, sifting through new statistics to make it to our end zones through different routes. Universities, institutes, down to homies who click in groups. I introduce you to the Stew with JT Brew.
Shout out to my guy Chase Baby, a local Champaign rapper who put that song together for me. Go to Bandcamp, check him out. He's got some new stuff up. He's got some concerts going, so go ahead check your local concert sites, venues for him. Chase Baby, get a chance to go out and see him. Good friend of mine. Check him out. Always supporting local music, local artists whenever we can. Now I welcome in one of my good friends, Ben Dyer at Ben Dyer 8 on the X. We big gambling buddies. We chat. We got a group chat going all the time. All kinds of different stuff. I asked him to come on the show, talk about the Super Bowl. It's the biggest gambling day of the year. Single one game of the entire season. I saw some, it's like gonna be in the billions. They're getting gambled this year. It's gonna be nuts. Glad you have you. You excited? It's so many bets you can place in this game. It's unbelievable.
I can't believe it's Super Bowl week. That's kind of a bittersweet thing. It's like here's a Super Bowl, you get all these crazy bets, a lot of opportunities, but at the same time, that means kind of football is coming to an end. So it's kind of
awesome
one of those,
and it's terrible at the same
Yeah.
time. You're like, man, I love the Super Bowl, but yeah, like you said, it's just marks the end of football season, and you're like, it's like, all right, now we're gonna have to move on to a little basketball, a little hockey bet,
Yeah.
but it just never quite the same as the
Right.
weekends during college and NFL season.
Yeah, and it seems like the season always goes. August comes and you're hyped about your team, and the games start, and then next thing you know, it's like Super Bowl time. So, but yeah,
It
Super
goes
Bowl's
fast
fun
every
one.
year, man. It's fast every year. It's crazy. So usually on a show like this, we would hold out to give you our game picks to the very end. Make sure you stick with us for the whole time period. We're not doing it that. We're going to jump right in to our Super Bowl picks, and we'll work our way back to player props and some other just kind of fun, cool bets we found or we liked. But Benny, we're going to start it off here. Kansas City Chiefs versus San Francisco 49ers in Las Vegas. It's going to be wild in Vegas. I've already seen people be like, what kind of crazy thing is going to happen this week that screws with the game? I hope nothing happens, but you just never know in Vegas. Hopefully all the players make it to the stadium. Everybody's good to go. Hopefully that doesn't swing anything for us.
Like,
but
what famous person's going to wind up in jail or on
exactly
on Twitter the next day for doing something crazy?
We've got some famous Super Bowl experiences where guys didn't show up, couldn't be found day of the game. Let's hope nothing like that happens. Let's have everybody have their phone on with someone that has the check, able to check where they're at, monitor what they're doing, make sure everybody gets to the game. So this one's kind of been back and forth. Everybody's kind of talking about, Patrick Mahomes, just keeps getting there every year. Brock Purdy, third youngest quarterback to ever make the Super Bowl. That's the big difference in this game, I think, in a lot of people's minds. Both teams, pretty stout defenses. The Niners have been one of the best in the year. Running game, the Niners, one of the best in all season at the run game. Sneaky good the Chiefs have been was Isaiah Pacheco and stuff. Right now, the line is sitting at -2. 49ers, make sure you're checking all your sites. Most of the stuff I pulled up either yesterday or very beginning of this morning to kind of get as close as I could on this, but that was on DraftKings. The over-under 47.5. The closer we get to the game, you're going to see those numbers swing as more people put bets in. Just so you're aware, if you like a line, you like something great. If you don't, maybe wait around to see if it switches. See if you get a point or two one way or the other on some of these things. So, always be checking throughout the week. So, Benny, we come in here. These two teams, I originally took the Niners at the beginning of the year. They were my Super Bowl pick to start the season. I had them as the number one seed. I had them as the best record in the NFC. They actually they finished 2 games worse than I had them, but I still had them win the NFC. On the other side, I had the Chiefs win the AFC. They got the 3rd seed. I actually had them winning the AFC as far as number 1 seed, but I had them getting upset by the Bills in the playoffs. I originally had Niners Bills, but it now is Niners Chiefs. What were you thinking kind of coming in? Were you a Niners guy? Who were you kind of picking early on in the season?
Well, coming into the season, I don't think I was gung ho on the Niners. I mean, I knew the roster was going to be stacked, and you saw how Purdy played in that like 7-game stretch, last season where he was unreal before he hurt his shoulder or his elbow or whatever it was. But I wasn't completely sold. You got a 7th round, basically the last guy in the draft getting taken, and they're trading off, Lance for. Obviously, they thought they had something with him, and I think he's a great quarterback. I mean, he's obviously very smart, makes quick decisions. He knows the offense, and he's had an unbelievable season for a guy that is his first full season really in the NFL. So I wouldn't say I was on board 100% definitely to start the season, but as it went along, and going into this, I'll just say right now, like a lot of my bets are based on the fact that I wouldn't say it was midway, but close to midway, probably on the latter half of the season, I put in, a future bet for the Niners to win the Super Bowl. So some of these bets that I have here that we're going to talk about are slight hedges against that because
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all.
I'm a little biased because I'm already going into this game, pulling for the Niners, but I've heard, arguments, and then, the stuff you kind of roll through in with your own research and your own perspective of what you've seen throughout the season. And you kind of, listen to other arguments, and you can make, depending on what side you're on in this game. I mean, 2-point spread. I think it possibly will be less than that by kickoff. You can make a real solid argument for either side. I mean, you got the Niners, who obviously as a whole is a better team, has probably a top to bottom better roster, but you've got the Chiefs who've been there, obviously, and you've got Mahomes. And so
It's tough to bet against Mahomes. It really is. And I agree with you. I'm on the side where I'm probably leaning more Niners just because I picked him at the beginning of the year. CMC is kind of my guy. I've been riding CMC for MVP train all season long. So I'm kind of leaning that way. But man, it is tough to go against the Chiefs. I got our buddy Gail Clark jumped on here and says Chiefs minus 19.5. He thinks the Chiefs are rolling. So he's got the Chiefs. I agree with you. I think we're going to see some late money coming in on the Chiefs here. I really think people are going to, some of those people that aren't maybe, full-time bettors that want to kind of throw some in, they're going to see Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce. They're going to say, I'm putting money on the Chiefs. So I could definitely see this game getting closer to a pick 'em or a -1 when it's all said and done. Like I said, we'll go over a couple reasons here. Mahomes, like I said, so tough to bet against him. Here's the reason I'm leaning on the Niners. I think CMC could have a huge game. I just think Christian McCaffrey was the best player in the league this year, hands down. Quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end. I felt like he was by far the best player in the league this year. Running backs got all kinds of hate. Oh, they're interchangeable. You could make it there with anybody. I don't think so. CMC was by far and away the best player, dominated the running back position. I think he ends up being the difference maker. And the reason I do is the one way to really get at this Chiefs defense is running the ball. If you can run the ball and you can run it well, they were ranked in the very lower half of like 28th, 29th, 30th in almost all those running statistics, all the crazy ones that no one ever knows what they mean when they first read all the initials. They were low as could be, believe me, in all those. So I think if CMC can have a good game and they don't rely on Purdy to have to make crazy plays, he can play within himself, can play within the scheme, within the play action passing. That is why I like them. I also think the Niners defense is really, really good. Mahomes is crazy hard to sack, but I think this,
Yeah.
if any team's got enough guys up front to get the pressure and get to him, I think it's the Niners. And then I'll go and I'll let you jump in on your thoughts on this. The Chiefs side, I think the Chiefs Mahomes is literally their biggest. That's the biggest reason you're taking him. It's because it's Patrick Mahomes and he's been the
Yeah.
best quarterback in the NFL for the last couple of years now.
Yeah.
And he's been here before. And if ever comes down to the end of the game, it's like he's going to make the play. He's going to make some crazy play to get loose and find a guy downfield. And so that's why you're confidence in the Chiefs. Now, the problem for me is I just don't like the Chiefs, all the players he's going to. I like Kelsey. Obviously, he's good. Rashee Rice is really like stepped up, but their other wide receivers have not been good. I think Pacheco has to have a really nice game
Yeah.
to
I think
kind of offset things.
both are
And
running backs.
if he doesn't have a really good game and they're just set throwing all the time, I think that's an issue.
That's gonna be a
The
problem.
other issue for me is why I think the Niners have to run the ball well, is the Chiefs have been outstanding on outside receivers this year, and they've been really outstanding on number one wide receivers this year. They've shut down a ton of number one wideouts this year. So you're gonna have to have somebody else step up in that game. That's why I think you can get CMC out of the backfield. They're gonna need George Kittle to kind of do some
Yeah.
stuff for them, because I just don't think you're gonna be able to rely on a huge game for Ayuk. You can hope Debo, because they do a little more with him, they can get him involved. But that's my worry, is that Ayuk's going to get taken out, and then you just don't want Purdy on that big of a stage. And like I said, no hate against him, as Niners fans got off after me on the X a couple weeks ago because they thought I was trashing Purdy, and I wasn't trying to trash him. I was trying to more talk good about CMC, but it came off as me trashing Purdy, and they're kind of sensitive to that. So I just don't think you want to get him in positions where he's having to do something crazy and you're absolutely relying on him to make a play on 3rd and 12. Now, can he do that? Absolutely. The guy's got the ability. I just don't know if that's what you want to do if you're the Niners. So that's
No.
why I'm leaning Niners. You tell me kind of little your analysis of kind of why you think on both these teams, good and bad, either way for the Niners or the Chiefs.
Well, I'm with you 100%. I think, you know, I don't see big games coming from. I mean, you never know what's going to happen. It's a Super Bowl. I mean, but I'm with you on them. Probably taking away those outside wide receivers. So it's going to be McCaffrey, and it's probably going to be Kittle. I think it's going to be one or the other. If the 49ers are going to do well enough offensively to win the game. The other thing that is kind of sneaky with the Niners, and it really didn't take effect until last week. At least we didn't see it throughout the season, but Purdy found some running windows and he looked pretty good running the football, and that was a little surprising to me. So I got a little prop coming in on Purdy maybe taking off running. I think he might have found a little confidence doing that, that he hadn't. Well, I mean, let's be honest, he never really had to. I mean, but to your point about CMC, I mean, the 3 weeks or maybe two, I can't remember if he was out for 2 or 3 weeks. Maybe with the bye it was three, but those weeks where he was out of the lineup, that's when they had their little downturn in the middle of the season where they lost 2 or 3 games in a row. So to your point, I mean, he's obviously huge value to that team. He just does everything. I mean, he literally can do anything. So I'm with you 100% on that. I think for the Chiefs, the sneaky thing about the Chiefs team this year is their defense. I mean, the Chiefs defense is kind of flown under the radar. They're a really good defense. People don't talk about it because when you talk about the Chiefs, you talk about Mahomes. And,
Exactly.
Kelsey obviously gets talked about. I think you're 100%. I couldn't agree with you more. The Chiefs at this point, it is basically Mahomes, Kelsey, and Rice, and then the running backs. The other wide receivers on that team are garbage. If you really want to get down to it, they're not good. I mean,
I
they
couldn't
have
believe that MVS, Marcus Valdez
they
Scantling.
can't
I
catch.
can't believe he
They're
caught that
fast.
ball. I can't believe he caught that ball in the last game to
Oh
clinch
yeah,
that
yeah,
game. I was
yeah.
just
That
like,
was
he threw
crazy.
it, and I was like, I can't believe Mahomes threw it to him. I
That
wouldn't
was a
have thrown
coin
it to
toss.
him because
Yeah,
again, it's a 50-50 of whether he actually
yeah.
catches that ball. Now,
Yep.
he's an NFL
100%.
wide receiver, and he should absolutely catch that
He
pass.
should.
But we've seen him
We've
drop
seen
a
it.
lot of passes in the past
Yeah.
that hit him right in the hands when he
And
was
how
open.
many
So
has Kadarius Tony dropped that could have been? And then
the question is
he
he
just
even going
makes
to
bonehead
play?
play. I
Oh,
don't think so.
they've been mad at him, so it's
Yeah.
like, is he even going to play? Justin
Yeah.
Watson, I don't think has had more than 2 catches
Yeah.
in like last 6 or 8 games. I mean, it's been Mahomes just making plays, getting people the ball. And again, they've not been winning shootouts like they did in the past. A lot of these wins, if you go back
No.
and look through the playoffs, I mean, they're winning close games. And it's Mahomes making timely passes, timely plays to Kelsey, to Rice, and that's what's getting them by. And the defense, like you said, the defense has just played very solid, and
Yeah.
that's kind of what carried them.
I think they ended up either second or third in turnover, ratio, the Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, if they're going to get takeaways, I mean that's huge. But yeah, I'm with you. I mean, obviously, like I said, I've got this future bet on the Niners, so I'm going to be pulling for them because that's going to be better for me. But I could see a lot of different ways that the Chiefs could get this done. They've been there. I mean, you're going to have a great game plan from both coaching staffs, but Andy Reid is the master, man, when it comes to big games. I mean, he's proven that. So um, I don't know. I think if they can get that running game going a little bit, like you said, if Pacheco can have a big game, um, I don't see why they can't win this game. It should be a good game. I mean, it should
It should.
really be
I think it's
close.
going to be close.
So
Our buddy Brian Clark just jumped in here and says he really likes Pacheco over 67.5 yards rushing. What's your confidence with him hitting that number? I actually really like that.
I like
I
that
think
one.
both teams are going to try to run the ball. Both teams have really, they've had some guys make some great plays in the playoffs, but it's not like both these teams have been absolutely putting up crazy points. They've been relying on the defense, trying not to turn it over. I actually think that Pacheco bet, I actually really like that bet. That's one I will get into some of my parlays later. That's when I might end up moving that one into another parlay. But Ben, here we talked about the game, we talked about the matchup. I'm going to give you my bet. What I've got in there personally, I jumped on early in the week. I jumped on money line 2-pick parlay. I took Niners money line and I teased the over under from 47.5 down to 44. I think that 47.5 number is almost right on. I think that's really, really close. So I wanted to tease it down because I think they're going to get some more points late in this game. So I think there's going to get some scores late. So I went under to get over that. A 2-pick parlay right now of that on DraftKings is plus 160. So I like that little bit there. So I jumped on that one. And then also I'm going to jump in. I'm going to give you my exact score. So I
All
actually am
right.
I'm taking Chiefs 27-24. Right now on FanDuel, you can jump on the exact score. That score 27-24 at plus 5,000 on
Ooh.
FanDuel. I really like it. Sprinkle a little. Just in case something happens there, I looked up a close score right to that. 28-24 Niners is plus 24,000. Sprinkled a little in there on the plus
Yeah.
24,000, 28-24. So again, that's going to, both of those clearly hit that over. They're both going to get into the 50s there. Like I said, I think that 48-49 is right there. I think this game could end up going slightly under that, but just in case we get a couple more field goals than touchdowns is why I jumped on that 44, pushed it down to that just in case we get ourselves a 24-20 game. A couple field goals in there.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's kind of where I'm leaning at the 44, trying to get over it. But those are my picks. I'm taking Niners money line. I'm moving it down to 44. If I had to take just a straight bet, I'm taking Niners -2 right now. I'd take that bet. I think it's a 3-point game. I think it could go either way. But I'm going a little bit with the heart here and thinking that CMC is going to have a good game. The defense is going to step up. And, it's been quite a few years since they played each other. Not very many same guys on the same roster, but, the Chiefs beat them in the Super Bowl just a couple years ago. I know the Niners really want to win that. And I know Kyle Shanahan, 49ers coach, he has a terrible record against Andy Reid and the Chiefs. So he
Yeah.
would love to get a win in, especially at this time of Super Bowl. So, Benny T, what do you got? Who are you taking in this one?
Okay, so I'm with you 100%. If I didn't already have, the future bet on the Niners, I've already said I'm on them. I'd say that if that bet, wasn't already in play, I would be on the Niners. I would probably be Niners -2 or just Niners money line, and I'd be rolling with it. Um, I do have a little bit of a hedge bet, and this comes from something that I saw on Twitter or X or whatever everybody's calling it,
Yeah, nobody
where
knows anymore.
yeah,
Nobody knows anymore.
historically, apparently in Super Bowls, or at least in the last 20 years, the last 20 Super Bowls, which I don't know how many has there even been. Um, the winner of the Super Bowl, whether they're an underdog or favorite, typically wins the game by, I think it was like an average of 6 points or more. So there's been a couple cases where, but historically it's never been like, a 1 point or a last second field goal
Very
or
few, very
whatever.
few.
There's a very few of them. So to that, if you like Kansas City and you think they're gonna, you know, come out ahead, obviously you're getting on the money line, you're getting plus points anyway. Why not take them at an alternate spread at -2.5 and just bump the juice? I mean, historically teams are winning this game. The winner wins by at least a field goal. So you can take Kansas City at alternate spread -2.5 and get plus 122. So that's what
Like
I
that. I
did.
like that.
Yeah, so that's what I did to hedge, just a small little hedge there because I figure, well, if Kansas City wins, they're probably going to win by more than a field goal.
I
So
like
that's
that. I definitely, you know what? If for some reason more money starts coming in on the Niners and that line moves up a little bit,
hmm
I could see myself maybe jumping on a Chiefs money line, plus money line, or even throwing a 4 or 5 pick parlay where I move the Chiefs up a few points and make
yep.
them like +6 or a +7. I could see myself possibly doing that as well.
Yep. So, and then the other one, you know, obviously you got your two pick parlay, which I really like. I think the game total is gonna. I think it's going over. I think now I do have a bet on the first half under, which is at 23.5 at -120. So you're paying a little extra juice to do that, but I just feel like it's going to be one of those games where you know you've got better defenses than people really realize. You've also got better running games than both teams realize, and nobody wants to make that. It's the Super Bowl. I mean, yeah, teams are going to be amped up, but nobody wants to make that big turnover that's going to change the game right away. So you could even, I didn't look at it. You could probably even look at the first quarter and potentially try to go under on that too. But I think, it's one of those games where it's going to kind of start out slow like that. They're going to be feeling each other out, and then at some point, one of these teams is going to take a shot. There's going to be a trick play. There's going to be something that's going to break it open, and then I think the second half could get wild. So I'm tempted to, even if that first half, I'm tempted to hop in, and take the second half over live if that's the way this thing goes. But
Yeah, I
you know,
love that bet. I love where your head's at on that one. I think you're right. I think it ends up being a little bit of slow start. Both teams try to establish the run. The defenses come out jazzed. I like where your head's at on that. I definitely think we could see, maybe like a 13-7 first half, and
yep,
then teams kind of turn it on in the second half. So I'm with you on that one. That's one I'm gonna have to pull that one up and look at it because that's definitely one that I hadn't seen or looked at yet. But I like where your head's at on that one. Let's move on now to usually what is the next biggest pick in for Super Bowl weekend outside of the actual game is MVP. So let's talk about MVP. We know the history. The odds are almost always QBs unless some crazy stuff happens. Right now, as far as what is currently out there on current odds on DraftKings, and some of these are slightly moving, so make sure you check them. Patrick Mahomes was plus 140. Brock Purdy was plus 200. Christian McCaffrey was plus 440. Travis Kelsey plus 1,700. Debo Samuel plus 2,500. And Isaiah Pacheco plus 3,500. And then I looked up the two number one wide receivers just to see where they were at. Brandon Ayuk is at plus 5,000. And Rashee Rice is at plus 6,000. So those are kind of the guys, the main guys. You know, very rarely do we see a defensive guy win it. I still tell the story to this day of when the Broncos beat the Panthers in the Super Bowl. I told everybody and their brother take take Von Miller as MVP. People are like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, "The odds are crazy high. The Broncos' offense has not been good, and if the Broncos end up winning this thing, it's going to be because the defense absolutely shut them down and made some plays. Von Miller does it. He hits. I, of course, am telling everybody all week I don't put my bet in early. I go to put in the bet right as the game is starting, and it gets cut off. They cut off prop bets 10 minutes before the game starts because we're lost driving around. I got the girlfriend driving because I'm trying to put the bets in. The girlfriend gets lost. She's yelling at me like, "Where's their house?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about? I don't even know where we're at in the middle of the country as we're driving to a Super Bowl party because I'm trying to put these bets in." I don't even get the bet in. At the end of the game, everybody congratulates me because I've told everyone the entire week that I'm taking Von Miller for Super Bowl MVP, and that's the play.
I
And
totally
everyone's like,
remember
"I
that.
can't believe you hit that. I can't." And I'm like, "I didn't get the freaking bet in." I was like, "Oh." So now
man.
this is why you put bets in early just in case on stuff like that. But so let's look at it. If you like one of those guys, who are you taking? Usually, like we said, unless some
Such
crazy
a tough
happens,
one.
you almost always
It's
take
always a
QB.
quarterback,
It's
but
almost always a QB. So again, with
I
the
like
lines
taking
like
long
this,
shots on
I
these
like a
just
long
because
shot
it's like,
too.
yeah,
So
because
who would you if you're going to go long shot? Not the guy you necessarily think's going to win it, but a guy who could win it for some reason. You like the odds. Who do you leaning towards
so
on
for
that?
me, long shot, I think, there's only a couple people. If the Chiefs win, Mahomes is going to win the MVP. There's almost no question, unless
Excuse me.
Pacheco or Kelsey just has like literally a record-breaking type Super Bowl. Like that's the only way a position player is going to win that.
Well, I
So
always tell people the only way position players win is if the quarterback doesn't have a very good game and they end up the other players do a couple crazy things. So I always think
right,
about the Steelers Seahawks Super Bowl when Heinz Ward won the MVP. Well, the only reason he won
he threw for
MVP,
one, right?
he threw
And
for one and he caught one, and then he had a huge catch on the down to the 1 yard line on like a third down in like 20 play
yeah,
early in the game that set up a touchdown. And he won, and Roethlisberger's numbers were
we're
awful in
not
that
good.
game.
Yeah,
They were terrible in that game, and they had an okay running game, but nothing crazy. And so, you know, he didn't. I take that back. He didn't throw for the touchdown. He caught the touchdown pass from Antoine Randall L. Well, sorry,
mm.
I'm getting the history
Oh,
wrong.
that's right.
So
No, you're
Antoine
right.
Randall L,
Yep.
the old Indiana quarterback, who also was a wide receiver, reverse passed, hit him for the touchdown. I think Roethlisberger ended up with 0 touchdown passes in that game. So he had the touchdown pass to Heinz Ward. That was the big play that
Well,
everybody remembers. And then
Ward was
again,
an
Heinz Ward had
ex-quarterback
player on
too,
him.
I think. So wasn't Ward an ex-quarterback as well? So you had
He was one of
two
the guys that
receivers that were
he
both
played
quarterbacks in
quarterback,
college.
running back, and wide
Yeah,
receiver in college at Georgia. So yes,
yeah.
that was a crazy. So that is when you got to have that kind of crazy situation for a player that's not the QB to win.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's my thinking. I mean, and now that we're talking about it, if you think Kansas City's going to win, I don't know if I haven't tried to do it. I don't know if these sites will let you do it, but you could potentially parlay like Chiefs money line with Mahomes MVP because if the Chiefs win, that it's pretty much going to be Mahomes. I mean, there's almost no way it's not. So that would be kind of a sneaky bet. Um, but for a long shot for me, if the Niners end up winning this thing, um, I don't know. I feel like there's so many weapons on that Niners team. You can only stop so many of them. So it's almost like if you've watched a lot of football this year, the Niners they'll have they put up a lot of points sometimes, and when they do, it's like one guy usually has a monster game. Now
Mm-hmm.
they don't. I mean, yeah, some guys. CMC has been the most consistent production throughout the season, but you'll have like one other guy that will just go off, and then Kittle might have a game where he doesn't do anything. He might even get like one catch. So I think a sneaky one would be to take Kittle because it could be one of those deals where, like you said, they're really good defensively against the outside wide receivers, and if they are putting a lot of emphasis on shutting down CMC, I mean Kittle could be running wild, and he had a couple of games throughout the season where he just had monster games. I think he had one game where he had 3 touchdowns and 160 yards receiving or something like that. So if he were to happen to have a crazy game like that, maybe he throws a big block or to spring a touchdown or does something else in the game that seals the deal. So for me, that would be, and it's plus 6,000. So it's like whatever. You just throw a little something on it and hope. But otherwise, it's probably going to be one of the quarterbacks.
Yeah, I
So
agree with you. So for me, I jumped on early. I jumped on CMC. I've already got money on him. I took him plus
I do
475.
like that.
It's come down a little bit. I like him at plus 470 because I think if the Niners win, it's because CMC pounded the rock and he had a really good game.
He'll need to
And
have
I
a
and,
game.
and
Yeah.
I think that's the win. So that's my bet because I like the odds. I like the plus 475. So I'm on him on that. I'm the same with you. I don't think there's any way anybody but Mahomes wins MVP if it's the Chiefs. So I like what you said. I'm
Unless
looking up
somebody has
especially
like 2 pick sixes and like, just a
exactly.
crazy game on
It,
defense.
it
But
it's really hard. So and since we're talking about that, I will give you my long shot, my absolute Hail Mary that I didn't talk about. And I have to do it because he's my guy, Nick Bolton from Missouri Tigers, up behind me here. He's my
oh,
guy. Had an awesome Super Bowl last time, scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl, had a great game. If he comes out and does something crazy, he's at plus 60,000 right now. Plus
hey,
60,000 to
why
win
not?
MVP. I threw a couple bucks on it because I'm
Might
like,
as
if
well.
he ends up getting a touchdown, a big pick, a sack in a certain situation, and it ends up being a really defensive game, say it is what people think, and it ends up going under, and then the game is like a bunch of field goals and ends up being like, 17-13, 20-13, 20-10, something like that, kind of low scoring, and no one really has a big game offensively because all the scores are set up by the defense. He could get it. I know that I'm probably just lighting that money on fire. Believe me, I know. But at plus 60,000, I
Hey,
got to take a chance on my guy.
yeah.
So that's my super, super long shot. If I was taking one of these long shots we talked about, for me, it would probably be Debo at plus 2,500. And the only reason I say that is they have tendencies to get him the ball in the right situations on runs and catches. And I
Yeah,
could
you're right.
see
He
him
could
getting a
have
run or
multiple
a catch
things.
or a few big plays. Say Purdy ends up with one touchdown pass and one pick in like 175 yards or 200 yards of
Right. And
throwing.
defense plays great,
Yep,
but
and defense plays great, and
yeah.
Debo gets a rushing touchdown and a receiving touchdown
Yeah,
and
probably
goes
give
over
it.
100 total yards. I could see Debo getting it because of that reason. So
Yep.
that's where I'm going to go. Debo would be my other one if I threw, a long shot would be the 2,500 on Debo, but I do have my money on CMC. And like I said, just for my guy in the Super Bowl from Mizzou, Nick Bolton, I had to throw a couple bucks on the plus 60,000.
I like it. Why not?
All right.
Right.
Yeah, let's look here at some player props, some different things we want to look at. What we liked, we didn't like. Some of these we'll talk about. Ones we really liked. Other ones will say, yeah, maybe it wasn't something we loved, but it was like, it's interesting. It's interesting. So one of the specialty props that I kind of liked and come across, and I just goes back into what I was just talking about with CMC and Debo on DraftKings. They've got CMC plus 130 rushing and receiving yards combined, and Debo Samuel 95 plus rushing receiving yards combined. They got that as a combo specialty bet for plus 450 right now. I kind of like that one because
I
again, I
like
think
that.
if the Niners are good, I think it ends up most likely being CMC and a combo of Debo rushing and receiving. And he's one of those guys who can catch, a 5-yard screen pass and he takes it to the house
Yeah,
on a big play. So I took that one as a little special. I like the plus 450, sprinkle a little bit on that. What do you think about that bet?
I like that. I like that a lot. I mean, you know, your reasoning makes sense. Like you said, I mean, Debo, I actually, the 2 weeks leading up to the Super Bowl, I had Debo receiving plus rushing over in both of those games. The first one, he got hurt on like the first series of the game, had to come out of the game. Luckily, DraftKings was kind enough to give everybody their bets back. Of course, they didn't actually give you your money back. You had to use it to place more bets with. But either way, it's like it's better than just losing.
At
So
least it was something, right? You got
yeah,
that a little bit back. I had that same bet, but I had it in the same game parlay, and there was another spot that missed, so I
yeah.
ended up losing my bet on that one.
And then the next week, I'm not sure he actually went over on that bet, but then there was I think I had him on a bet too that was longest reception for like 26 yards or something, and he got one for 28. So I mean, Debo's explosive. So like you said, he can take what looks like a simple play and go the distance. So I like that. And CMC is just gonna. I mean, most likely he's going to be a workhorse. I mean, they're going to get him touches. So if he has a good game, which he's going to need to for them to win, then I love it. You know. So I'm with you, dude.
Another interesting one that I came across. There was a 2-point conversion. Is there going to be one in the game? Yes or no? Yes is plus 154. No is minus 194. I was real shocked on that. I got to go back and relook at that. Make sure it doesn't mean they have to actually convert the 2-point conversion. But if it just means they just are going to try one, I feel like these coaches are fairly, you know, they're go for it type of coaches. I think we could see one. So I kind of like the plus 154 on that. Um, Another one that people love to jump on, Benny, I'm not sure what you're thinking on this. The first touchdown scorer. I've been on CMC the last couple weeks. I'm not gonna take him as the first touchdown scorer. He's the lowest odds. I'll have to look that up real quick. I think he's like plus 330 to be the first scorer. But I was looking at it, and the one guy that kind of jumped out at me, if you want to take a long shot, and let's be honest here on the stew, we love the long shots. We love the deep
Yeah, why not?
parlays. We like to do that stuff. So the guy I'm probably leaning towards in that situation is Rashee Rice for the Chiefs. He's at plus 1,000 on FanDuel right now for first TD. I could see him
Yeah,
getting one early in that game. If you wanted to take last
I
touchdown and
like
you
that.
think the Chiefs are going to win, I like going Travis Kelsey last touchdown. I think that's a pretty interesting one. I feel like if it just seems like that would be the thing that happens. If the
Right.
Chiefs end up winning it, it'd be Mahomes to Kelsey for the victory. Somehow that would pop up. So those are two ones I kind of that kind of jumped out to me. Anything for you along those lines at all?
Um, I'm with you. I mean these, like you said, these are all kind of long shots. Anytime you're betting the first touchdown, you're kind of rolling the dice. But I'm with you, man. I think McCaffrey probably makes the most sense for the first one, even though it's the lowest odds, but it's still plus 380. So and we're not talking about putting crazy. I mean, these are literally just little fun bets to make while you're watching the game, kind of thing. Um, last, if it, last touchdown, I like where your head's at there with Kelsey. If you think the Chiefs are going to win, I think if you want the ultimate Cinderella story and you think the Niners are going to win, you could maybe get a Purdy rushing touchdown for the last
Oh,
touchdown,
plus 2,800 right now on
that would be
DraftKings.
a wild one. But I mean, that would be the ultimate, like, Purdy. Here he is, this dude
Dude,
that's
I'm
making
telling
league
you what,
minimum. You
if
know,
Purdy ran for the final touchdown for the Niners to win,
It'd be wild, wouldn't it?
we might be having Niners fans dying.
They might
Like
put up
they
a
would
statue.
lose their. I mean, they're going to lose their mind that Purdy because
We have a Purdy statue.
all I'm hearing is how everyone's talked trash about Purdy all year.
Yeah.
I know it's more on the national media side. I haven't really paid attention to that. I don't watch a ton of the national media shows. I have to be honest with you. I don't like a lot of them. So maybe they've been trashing Purdy. But as far as fantasy goes and other things like that, betting side, everybody I know has been like on Purdy, like likes Purdy. So it's more of a national media that they don't like him, I guess. But man, yeah, the Niners fans, they would get full on redemption for everybody talking trash or perceived trash about Purdy if he got the 2,800 on final touchdown. I did look it up. It is Kelsey plus 600 right now on a final touchdown. His anytime touchdown is minus 110. McCaffrey anytime touchdown is minus 215 right now. So I mean, you could throw a nice little touchdown parlay together.
Yeah.
Say you go CMC anytime touchdown minus 215. Pacheco's minus 120. I could see him getting one. Debo's plus 130. Rashee Rice is plus 130. I mean, if you just got absolutely out of your mind odds and you took Rashee Rice first touchdown, which it was at 1,000, it's now down to 950. If you took Rashee Rice first touchdown, I'm just going to pull this up and see what we get.
See what
we took Rashee Rice first touchdown. We take Travis Kelce last touchdown, and then we take CMC anytime touchdown. Let's see what we get on the old bet slip here. Let's see what that would look like.
You got a boost in there too?
It would no boost right now. I love where your head's at though. I love where your head's at on the boost. It would be plus 12,000.
Oh
right
my gosh.
Plus 12,000 for that. So just a little thought out there. We're just making some things happen here. We're not telling you guys to necessarily take those. We're just bringing up the opportunity, letting you know some stuff that's a possibility out there. And Mike likes those odds. He says those odds are good. Our buddy Mike, he loves those. Those odds are good. He likes them. So
I'm sure he's got a little sneaky little parlay.
Oh, he always has got. He's always got some interesting ones that they throw out there that that we love. Last minute, you never know exactly what he's going to come up with.
As we were talking there, I just threw a little tiny bet on the Purdy last touchdown because I kind of just talked myself into that. I think
it's the Cinderella story. You got to do it. I love it. Plus 2,800. I mean, hey, why not? I like that one. So as we're kind of moving along here, last 10, 15 minutes of the show or so. Benny, you got any other bets sitting out there? Other stuff you kind of like? I've got a 3-pick parlay and a 7-pick same game parlay I like. Is there any kind of stuff like off the top of your head, even stuff either you're betting or stuff you just thought was interesting, something you could possibly take or work off of?
So these are just some weird props that I've heard some stuff, read some stuff, made a lot of sense to me. And me, I like the kicking game. I once left a fantasy league because they got rid of kickers in the league. So I'm all about the kickers. So
all about it.
Yeah. So I've got, and I'll give you some reasoning as to why I like these, but I've got longest field goal for the game, regardless of the kicker, over 47.5 yards, and it's minus 105. I've also got longest kick return under 27.5 yards. And that one's a little saucy. It's a minus 145. These are all on DraftKings. You can get them. I've also got under 2.5 kick returns, period. So most likely, and so there's the theory behind all three of these bets essentially is this Super Bowl is being played at the highest elevation of any Super Bowl ever. It's in a dome. It's perfect conditions. Both teams, I would butcher all the actual stats. I'm not gonna be able to pull them off the top of my head here. I didn't write them down. I should have. But essentially, both returners for both teams, typically they're not kick returners that take the ball out of the end zone. They're just not. They don't. The statistics show that they're just not great returners. Now, you never know what's going to happen, but to me, it's like guys are amped up too in the Super Bowl, so they're going to be bombing these kicks, man. I mean, the kickoffs are going to go out of the back of the end zone. If there's more than 3 kicks, and how many touchdowns are there actually going to be? So, if you think it's not going to be, like we said, it might get a little wild in the second half, but if you think it's not going to be a high scoring game, how many actual kick return opportunities even are there? And then with these kickers and high elevation and perfect conditions, I don't know. And then both field goal kickers are good for both teams. And if you look at, you know, like I said, I'm not going to be able to pull these numbers, but statistically, both of these guys from 50 yards are really good.
Mhm.
And when you've got a guy that can make a 50-yard field goal pretty much whenever, the coaches are going to be in a Super Bowl. Sometimes it's a go for it situation that's kind of right in that area. But if you're in a Super Bowl and you got a kicker that for sure can make a 50-yarder, you're going to probably kick it. So those are just some off the wall ones that I got.
Yeah, I like those
Um,
Bunker and Moody, both good kickers. I actually have in one of my bets Moody over 1.5 field goals. That's why I've got the 27-24 bet. I think he gets 2 field goals in this game. So I like that out of him. Um, we got our buddy Mike says, I'm at the highest elevation right now. He likes the elevation comment. So
well,
we like that out of our buddy Mike. And also,
he's
Mike, he's known for putting in the most ridiculous parlays that he could figure out, something that's somewhere around $1 million. He just loves to take a shot at him. He asked us, what about Kyle Juszczyk? 3 TDs. You guys like that one? The fullback
mm,
for the Niners. 3 TDs. I do not see that one coming. If he gets 3 TDs, he is absolutely winning MVP. If the fullback gets 3 TDs, I actually need to look at what the odds are for him to score 1 TD, because he's one of those ones, he gets a sneaky one
so
every
the
so often in there.
the year
Oh,
that Jimmy
currently he
G.
is plus 850 for anytime touchdown, plus 4,000 for first touchdown, and plus 4,000 for last touchdown.
Oh man, so the year that Jimmy G was quarterbacking the Niners in the Super Bowl, what was this? Just it wasn't that long ago. It was just a few years
Just
ago.
Oh man, was it 3 years ago?
Yeah.
I'm terrible on my memory these days.
So I had put in a bet, just a small prop bet for Juszczyk to get the first touchdown of the game. He didn't get the first; he got the second. But I mean,
Oh,
but even the odds for him to get a touchdown in the
yeah,
game was super high, and I just got greedy and went for the. I should just.
for the
I had a
first
gut.
one. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
plus 850, man. That's pretty nice odds, little
I
odds
had a gut
there.
feeling that old Juszczyk was gonna sneak one in, but yeah, no, that's the great thing about the Super Bowl, man. There's always some crazy things that happen, and there's so many different bets you can try to come up with. So
Yeah, I'll jump in here with a couple of mine stuff that I've got going. Just some wild, anybody that follows me, looks at my JT parlay plays of the day on the X. I'm always going high odds. I got to get something at least up in the thousands. We got to get a good crazy parlay going. This is my confidence pick. JT parlay play of the day for the Super Bowl. I'm going with my boy CMC to have a monster game. I'm hoping hits this bet, plus gets the MVP, plus hits a couple of the other bets I got him, and it just ends up being a CMC kind of night. It'd be fantastic. Right now, I've got 3 picks, same game parlay, CMC 2 or more touchdowns, 120 plus rushing yards, and 25 plus receiving yards. Right now, plus 1,000 on DraftKings. I'm loving that bet. If he has a good game, I think he blows up. That gets him about 145 yards total offense. The 2 touchdowns, I think that gets him an MVP. 2 touchdowns, about 150 yards. I think that's totally possible for him in this game. He's going to have some big plays, but that's my JT parlay play of the day for the Super Bowl, the plus 1,000. I am all in on the CMC train for this game.
all right, I like it. I'm with you. I've got a same game parlay as well. Mine's 4 picks, and these are all picks we've pretty much already talked about. Um, this is one actually, Toast chimed in earlier. Him and I last weekend we're sitting around, kind of put this together. So this is the same game parlay that him and I kind of put together. We got Pacheco over 67.5 rushing yards. We got a Pacheco anytime touchdown. We got Purdy over 12.5 rushing yards. I think that, to me, that is like a super sneaky bet. I already talked about how, last week he kind of found a little something with running the ball, and potentially it could have just been the way the defense was that week. Maybe they won't be playing as much man, but either way, you're not going to have a spy on Purdy, right? Like, and they have so many guys that they have to worry about on that offense. I mean, when he drops back, nobody's thinking about him taking off running. So really, one time he finds a seam, he's going to get, 12.5 yards. I mean, that's literally just one time, and he could pop that off. So I'm probably just going to put, I'm going to put a bet probably just on that by itself as well, because I really like that one. And then I got Kittle over 3.5 receptions to round out that 4-picker, and that's plus 850 at DraftKings with no boost or anything. So
Ooh, I like that. So
we'll see.
far in the playoffs, Purdy went 14 yards against Green Bay on 6 carries, and they had 5 carries for 48 yards against Detroit. During the regular season, he had a 3-game stretch where he was had 19 yards on 5 carries, 6 carries for 57, and 4 for 14. So if he can get up, the only games he didn't hit over that, he also had 3 for 20 against Pittsburgh in the opener. Most of the other games, if he got more than 3 carries, he went
He's
over
gonna
that
get
mark.
it. Yeah.
So if he actually rushes the ball more than 3 times, so when he ran the ball 4 times or more, he's hit it 5 times.
Yeah.
And he ran and he hit it once when he ran 3 times. So
yeah. Yeah, and I feel like it all, like you just said, it all comes down to how many times he decides to carry it. And I don't know. I just feel like after what he did last week, he might be more apt, to go ahead and it's obviously not his first, it's not going to be his first look, but he had so much success doing it last week that I feel like he might be more apt to just go ahead and take off. So, but like I said, 12.5 yards, he picks the right time. You can rip off
one
15.
good
He's a
scramble and
little
you're there.
faster than he looks too. I mean,
Yep.
he can run pretty good. So
He's a solid athlete. He doesn't,
Yeah.
just because he doesn't run the ball a lot, but he's a solid athlete. So I like those. So I've got a 7-pick parlay that's kind of like a lot of the stuff I talked about tonight. I've kind of threw it all together in one big one. So again, CMC heavy. I got CMC anytime touchdown. I got CMC over 89.5 rushing yards. CMC over 35.5 receiving yards. Jake Moody, Niners kicker. I got him over 1.5 field goals. So I got him for 2 field goals. I told you my boy Nick Bolton plus 60,000 for MVP. I got him over 8.5 tackles and assists for the Chiefs in this one. I took the Niners money line and then I moved it down all the way to 42 on this one. And I took the over 42. 7-pick parlay on DraftKings is plus 1,400 right now. So I'm on that one for a 7-pick parlay. I love it. Anything else we come out with the rest of the year, the rest of the week, as we kind of go to the finish here of the football season for the year, I'll post my X page. Benny, if he's got anything, I'll share any of his extra stuff. This is the time to start really going and searching, though. I'll tell people, don't wait till the last minute to start going on and putting a bet in on the Super Bowl. There is so many bets on this game because there's only one game. It's endless. It's endless the amount of bets. I saw on there today, DraftKings actually had a section called Swifty Bets. They had Taylor Swift Swifty bets, random bets. Like you didn't have to know anything about anything. They were all like just random number bets and stuff. It was crazy. But there's so much stuff you could take. You could take over anything, under anything. A lot of this stuff is fun. You don't want to get crazy.
Yeah.
If you don't have a huge bankroll, don't get nuts. Put a couple bucks, put $1, put $5, put $10 on something. Just have a good time. My girlfriend, she doesn't like to get crazy, but she likes to take the coin flip. She likes to take the
Yeah.
Gatorade color, likes to throw $5 on it just to get excited and see what happens. So those ones are always fun too.
Yep.
Jump on our heads or tails. I a lot of times I'll jump
Why
on that
not?
just because I just want to I want to
It's
start off with a
exciting.
win.
Kicking the
Let's
game
just get
off.
one right
Yeah.
off let's get one right off the bat. And
Yeah.
let's get it rolling. So I'm in on those. You can see those longest pass. There's so many things that they offer up that the
Yeah.
books offer up
Makes it fun.
during this game that they never offer up during the regular season,
Yeah.
ever. So
Yeah.
just get on there, look
And
around.
that's really, I mean, at this point, we've done bet our football. Like we've been through, so all these bets we've rattled off and talked about. I mean, it's literally for entertainment. I mean, we're gonna have a stupid amount of bets on one game. They're all gonna be for small, tiny amounts. You're just hoping that one of them hits and you end up coming out ahead in the
Exactly.
Super Bowl. But really, it's just so that you can sit there and watch it with your buddies and go, "I got this," and if this goes, I got this, and that's what makes it fun. So
Especially when your team's not in it and you don't have a necessarily rooting interest, it just makes it that much more interesting.
yeah, yep,
So
hundred
yeah,
percent.
it's fun. So it's always great. So yeah, check that stuff out. Like I said, we come up with anything more, we'll put them. I'll post some of these bets on our X page and on our JT Brew Stew page as well that we have for the show. So make sure you go check those out. If you got any cool bets, anything sitting out there, man, please jump on the X. Hit me up at JT Orange. Hit Benny up at Ben Dyer 8. Throw them to us. I love when people come up with bets I didn't see, I didn't know about. I'm like, oh, I love that one. So that's the one I like to say. Oh, we got one more. Got one more from our buddy Mike here before he goes. Says I know it's out of anybody's control, but you guys prefer heads or tails on the flip. I was always a heads guy. I always took the heads. And I'm not sure if that was good or bad on that. I've hit it quite a few times in the Super Bowl. I just think that's my go-to is heads. Ben, do you go heads or tails?
Hey,
What's your
it's a
typical?
it's a literal coin toss. So I think you gotta just go gut on the day of the game, baby. I mean, that's one that you're gonna
You don't
wait.
go one way or the other every time.
No,
You
no,
just like, nope,
no.
I'm going this one this time.
You gotta go gut on that one. I mean, it's a literal, coin toss. That's what
This
it is.
I have to throw this little story before we leave. I had a girlfriend in college. She had a coin toss app on her phone,
Oh my
and every
gosh.
time she was trying to make a decision, she would just pull that out, hit it on her phone. It'd flip the
Like
coin. She'd say,
like real
"Heads is
life
this."
decisions.
Yes, she'd be like, "Heads is this, tails is this." Which I mean, she would do it on stupid stuff like, "Are we gonna go to
Oh,
dinner here or there?" She'd be like, "Heads is this place, tails is that
oh,
place." But sometimes she would do it on crazy stuff, and I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! This is like a little more serious than that." But she was just like,
I
"Nope,
want
I'm
to
gonna
think
go
this
heads or
out.
tails."
Oh
It
my god.
always cracked me up. I'm like, "Really? We're just like literally," and I couldn't believe she had an app for it. Just flip the coin app. So ridiculous. Shout out to
Uh,
Jenny Anderson, who's never going to see this show, but she had it on there.
guess we should have come
Still
up with the
still
coin
friends.
toss app.
You know what?
You
Who
know.
she's rooting for? Kansas City Chiefs. She lives in Kansas City. Been a lifelong Kansas City Chiefs fan. So for her, I hope they win. She endured a lot of years of losing with the Chiefs and the Royals, especially when we were in college. Both were terrible. So she's getting some good years here out of Mahomes and Andy Reid. So that's a nice one. Like I said, my heart a little bit is going towards the Niners, which is funny because I've
Yeah.
always been an anti-Niners person. Just because when I was a little kid, they beat the Bengals twice in the Super Bowl, and I loved Icky Woods and Boomer
Yeah.
Esiason and Tim McGee and just all those guys. I loved them when I was a little kid. And I didn't like the Niners because they beat them every year. So that was a toughie. But CMC is my guy. He's probably my favorite
This is a
player.
fun Niners team
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
It's
he's one of
just
my favorite players that isn't on one of my teams. So, and then, like I
yeah,
said, Debo's a fun guy. I
yeah.
used to not like Ayuk. I'm coming around to Ayuk. Purdy's got a great story. You got one of the Bosa brothers on defense. I mean, all kinds of star power in this game. That's for
And
sure.
it's like, I don't know. I hate to be the guy that's like, we're already tired of Mahomes because I'll never get tired of Mahomes. He's such a stud. But it's like, I don't know. Like, but I will say, I mean, if Mahomes wins this one, man, I mean, with the offensive squad he's got, I mean, there's not a lot of help there besides Kelsey and those running backs. So, I mean, man, if he pulls this one off, that's got to put him in some rare air for
Oh
sure.
yeah,
Not that
it's
he
it's gonna
already
be
is,
pretty
but
crazy. Yeah, it's gonna be
yeah.
pretty crazy if he pulls this one off. That's for sure. So that's gonna do it for us here on the Stew with JT Brew. Thanks to my buddy Benny D for joining me. I'm
Hey,
Justin
thanks,
Taylor,
man.
your host. It was a great time. Check out those bets. Good luck on all that stuff. May all your bets hit. Made the bad beats quit. That's gonna do it for us here on the Stew. We'll check you next time. Have a good one, guys.
You up on trades and why you move? You ain't designed to lose. Find you jumping over seemingly nothing, racking up points makes the game a little more fun to watch. Can drop release. We started with the mock draft and now we make